Alright, we are getting ready to plant our garden. I forgot to start when we started. Here in Alaska, we do actually till our garden every year. I know that kind of messes up the natural whatevers my son was telling me from his classes. My other son just ate compost. But we till it because we have a slug issue. That's the major pest in our garden. And the tilling actually kills the slug eggs, and so it reduces the amount of slugs we have in our garden. Plus, we have to add a lot of lime to our soil here in Alaska because we just don't have a lot of lime. We have a lot of organic material, but we don't have a lot of lime. And so we add a lot of lime, and then we're adding compost and steer manure, and then we till in the lime. But that helps our plants grow. Our soil is the pH is very low a lot of times. Anyway, so that's what we're doing today is we're getting that ready. And we're going to till it here in just a minute, and then we'll start. It'll probably take me a week to plant everything, but we're going to get it done slowly as we go along. Anyway, so that's what we're doing today is getting this all spread. We have to shower when we're done because that lime is yucky. But anyway, I'll keep you updated as we go along. So one of the other reasons we also till our garden is because the soil here is so cold that any amount of extra warmth we can get helps the plants grow better. And so tilling the garden actually increases the soil temperature just a little bit, which is really necessary here in Alaska. So that's one of the reasons we till every year. So this piece of ground was pretty virgin ground when we first started. There was a little tiny bit of topsoil on the ground. And over the years through my son, you see him picking rocks. It's very rocky soil. Through picking the rocks, amending the soil, we had, like I said, a little bit of topsoil, but not a lot. It's actually become a pretty good garden area. It produces really well for us in the summertime. We try to do all organic gardening. We add very little, actually we don't add any pesticides or herbicides or anything like that. Anyway, it's become a pretty good garden over the years, but it has taken a number of years to get to that point. Alright, so we are done tilling, and I think I mentioned this before, but one of the reasons we till is to warm the soil up a little bit. Here in Alaska, you dig down just a foot and the temperature is about 35 degrees, and it kind of stays that way other than when it freezes in the winter. But even then, it doesn't usually go down super deep, but it doesn't get warm in the summer either. So we till the garden to, bring the warmer soil down and bring the cooler soil up so that at least the top 6 or 8 inches is a little bit warmer. The next thing we're going to do, we got to go eat lunch, but the next thing we're going to do is to mound the soil, which is another way to warm the soil up. So right now this is almost due north, and the sun rises over here. It circles all the way around and it sets, sets kind of over here. It doesn't really go down, get dark, but we want to take advantage of the whole circle. So our rows are going to go this way, so that the sun, as it circles around, is hitting the sides of those rows the whole day long, so that it warms the soil up and keeps the plants alive and healthy. Anyway, so we're going to set up our fenced-in area. The fenced-in area is to keep rabbits and sometimes moose. The moose don't usually get in it until the fall. It's not a huge fence, but it seems to deter them for the most part until fall, which is fine with me. But the rabbits will come in and eat my vegetables. They'll just nip them off right at the ground level, and then I don't have any peas, and I end up with no broccoli or whatever. So it's mostly for the rabbits, actually. Just show you really quick. my rhubarb. This stuff is crazy. It grows as soon as the snow is off of it, and now we're not even the end of May here, and I almost can harvest some of it. I'm excited. I love rhubarb. And it loves this spot. It's sunny all day long, and it gets fertilizer from the garden or the compost. I spread that around it and whatnot, and it does great. So we got the whole garden tilled. We got our enclosed fence up here. This is for the above ground things like peas and broccoli and lettuces and whatever like that. Stuff that the rabbits tend to like. And then we have our beds. I've made raised rows. And there we start with a 4-foot wide mark. I think it's over here. You can see it. Maybe we'll see how they did marking. You can kind of see that rope line, 4-foot wide marks. And then we pull the dirt back from that line. You can see that one right there. From that line back on one side, back on the other side. So that we end up with the mounds like this. And that gives us more sun exposure to warm up the dirt so that the soil stays warmer throughout the summer. And obviously once the plants get pretty tall, that sun exposure kind of diminishes, but later in the season the ground's a little bit warmer. Anyway, my son is pulling back the last row here. And then we just smooth off the top, and we can plant, like either 2 rows in one, or we can stagger so that we have 2 rows and then a third plant in the middle, depending on what we're planting. Anyway, that's kind of where we're at. We'll get this planted, hopefully. Well, we'll have the whole garden planted by the end of this week, but it's Monday today, but we might not get it planted today. But I'll video the planting process as well. Okay, we're inside the fenced-in area, and over here, this first row is going to be squash. So I have zucchini. Zucchini did really well last year. I did some winter squash. I'm hoping the winter squash will do well this year, but last year I didn't have too much success with it. The second row is going to be lettuces. We'll have spinach, mustard greens, leaf lettuce, I don't know, and then kind of at the end will be radishes. The radishes I plant several plantings. The lettuces I'll probably have to plant several plantings just to maintain. Sometimes you can just cut the outer leaves off. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Anyway, and then this row is going to be like the broccoli cabbage row. And then this row I'm going to plant peas, 2/3 of it, and then beans, green beans, the last third of it. So I have green beans and I have shell peas. And we'll see. I plant peas every year, and every year I have problems with them. Like the trellising doesn't work, or the moose eat it. Last year they were growing up the fence, and then the moose came and snipped them off at the top, and they were so heavy that they fell. Then it makes it hard to weed, hard to pick, and we got peas, but not as many as we could have. And beans, we'll see, the same kind of thing. Anyway, so we're going to see how that works. I probably will have to put something in here instead of training them up this fencing, especially since this year I'm going to put 2 rows of each down through here. So anyway, we'll see as the year progresses and as ideas come what I decide to do to trellis these up so that they grow. So anyway, we're going to get those planted. Okay, so my lettuces, I have lettuce, one-handed, mustard, spinach, and then radishes. And so this row I'm actually going to divide into 4 sections. And the lettuces I'm not going to plant all at once. I'm going to have 3 rows. Where's my finger? 3 rows in this row of each one. But I'm going to plant 1 row now. And then I'll wait about a week and I'll plant a second row, and then I'll wait about a week and plant a third row of all 4 of these because they're fairly quick growers, but then I'll have like extra, I guess you could say. It'll keep going through the season. So once I pull out that first row of lettuces or spinach or mustard or whatever I'm growing, then I'll be able to replant that and have lettuces and spinach and whatnot all through the season, instead of having one plant and trying to pull off just the outer leaves and keep it growing and whatever. This way I can cut it all off. I can start again with a new fresh plant, and I'll have lettuce all summer long. So that's what I'm going to do here. And I'm going to plant, right now, I'm going to plant carrots. Tiny seeds. I need to buy, I've seen people with these little seeders that like spread these perfectly. I don't have one of those. I probably ought to get one, because I end up scattering my seeds down through my row and then have to pull out like half of them because they're too close together. But it is what it is, and that's okay. So I have on this row, we're going to do the carrots, and then we're going to do 2 rows of carrots, one on each side of the mound, and then we'll move on to the next item. We'll see. I don't know if I can hold my phone and scatter. Not very well. I have kids who love to plant carrots, but they're not home right now. So we gotta get this done. This one, these are, let's see, Nantes Fancy. I have 2 different kinds. I like to grow a couple different kinds, and usually carrots grow really well here. So, all right, now we're going to do the same thing with this Scarlet Nantes, and these really grow well. Both varieties, we get pretty good carrots. So, same thing, second time. I guess first I'll show you. So after I get that seeded, then I just take and pinch the dirt together all the way down and kind of pat it, and then I will come back and water so that they're moist and can grow. Okay, carrots are planted. The dog loves this new soil. The next row is going to be beets. I have 2 different kinds, Ruby Queen and Early Wonder. And these are all Denali seeds. They're made for Alaska, so usually they grow pretty good. Beets I've never had success with until last year. And actually the moose came along and ate the tops off. They were starting to bolt, and the moose came along, ate the tops off, and then they grew again like normal, and I had really good beets. So this year I may have to cut the tops off, I guess, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, so beets in this next aisle. Okay, the beets I do very similarly to the carrots. I create this like little row, I guess you could say. But the beet seeds are quite a bit bigger. So, oops, there goes one in the pathway. So I'm going to plant these individually. And the spacing on these is 2 inches. So we'll just kind of try to gauge. Oh, I usually don't do this one-handed. Anyway, so we'll just do one seed, move down. Sorry, I don't have you in this camera. One seed, and then we'll go back, just like with the carrots, and just cover up the seeds. Okay, so the end of the beets is, you can kind of see it there. I'm going to try turnips this year. I've never grown turnips. My husband's like, I don't like turnips. So I don't know. I've had turnips. I like them. So I'm going to just do this little tiny, it's probably about 4 feet long, of turnips. And we will see by the end of summer what happens and if they work. So planting the same way I did the beets and the carrots. Maybe this year I need a fence for the dog. Just kidding. My beets, we've already got footprints. I'm getting ready to plant onions. There's lots of footprints down through here too, but it'll be fine. It always works out. Anyway, I have onion like bulbs that I'm going to plant, and that's going to be in this row. So we've got carrots in this row, beets with some turnips at the very end of this row. And then we'll do onions here. And then this one's not really a row right here, but there's dirt. So it's kind of the end of my garden, but maybe I'll plant something there, but I don't know what yet. It's kind of weird. But anyway, so onions here. And these are easy. You just push them into the ground and call it good. So anyway, we got some onions. I forgot to show you what these are. So the onions, they go over there. Red rogues. Last year was the first year I grew onions. They were pretty successful. They were yellow or white kind of onions. These are what I found at the store, so this is what I'm going to plant. We'll find out how that does. Alright, so we got our potatoes planted, and my dog this morning was out digging apparently. I've got to go fix that. But anyway, we planted potatoes in this part right here of the garden, and I completely spaced out doing a tutorial part of things. But I will show you what I used for seed because I still had some seed potatoes left. And everything is now planted except for the stuff that I started, and it's just not warm enough at night yet for me to feel comfortable actually planting that in my garden. So it's probably going to be another week before I get my above ground, like my broccoli and my cabbage, and I have peppers and tomatoes. Well, those will go in kind of a greenhouse type of thing. And then what else do I have? Squash, different like zucchini and some winter squash and things like that. So we will do that next week, but I'll probably have published this video before I get that done. Okay, for my seed potatoes, I actually used previous year's potatoes. So these are some, I pulled these out of my root cellar about 2 weeks ago so that they would have time to warm up because my root cellar stays about 35 degrees. And then they also start sprouting, as you can see. I had extra potatoes. We'll just eat these. It's not a big deal. Anything huge, I usually cut, and you want to leave 2 little eyes per piece, at least 2. You know, this one you could cut and have more than 2. I don't usually plant this size just because I don't feel like there's enough there. This is marginal in size. I usually try to plant something a little bit bigger. But anyway, so that's what I use. And you can buy seed potatoes, but if you have potatoes from previous years, you can use those as well. So that's what I planted in my garden. And hopefully in the next few weeks, we'll see some growth.